March 11th, the next week, Monday. She'll be in office. Do you have something?
Yeah. That's crazy. What you doing?
What did you?
I told you.
Oh, beautiful.
I've seen my mac and cheese over there.
See the back end, so cute.
Figure out. Thank you for letting me. I don't know. What are we here? I think George was next.
I really don't.
Oh, you're right. Wait. Okay.
That's so neat. I love that. And have fun. I hope it gets approved.
It's like actually giving it to
I like getting into my or
Do you want to have that? And it's so fun. Meteorology. I'm 77. It's bad. I'm struggling. How would you manage that? Wait, that's not even wrong. That's a whole bill, bro. Meteorology is like the weather. Geology.
yeah, it's
Just fly off.
You do what? That's why I'm struggling.
no.
That's running. Why did it even? Why didn't even weatherology? Look at that. Why didn't it even figure?
I love them. Yeah. And I think it's good. They're here.
I'll just not joking because I'm leaving.
Yeah, that's really, really good too. I just woke up and I was like, shit, I'm gonna be late.
That's for the house leave. It's crazy.
It's really happy.
That's for me. I really want to know.
We're so completely.
Okay, you know what it sounds like?
Yeah, I know.
Where it's like that's for house. Yeah, sorry.
No one, buddy, use a plumber.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Literally the one.
Let's do a fun.
No, that's what I meant. That day, I was just like, yeah, it was. Like, when I was like, I was about to do that, it's yeah. And then did it. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I went on the bill number, like, they fucking have it that day. The one thing is, yeah. Yeah, I don't want that. That's right. And then I thought, oh, then I waited. That looks just right. It's longer than. Yeah, I think we're last. We'll figure that out. Wait. And then they're not all. Oh, it's 11 beautiful.
Got a small fire to do. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, that's the thing that.
I don't know. I have all this. And online.
You just sit over there.
I do.
Good. So yeah.
How much you read this one? Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
Order at 4:04. Here.
Here.
Hannah. Here. Caitlin. Here. Here. Joel.
Here.
Javier.
Here.
Here. Ian.
Here.
Ted.
Here.
Megan. Benjamin.
Here.
Berenchi.
Here.
Leandre.
Here.
Christopher Blue.
Here.
Aaron.
Here.
Ria. Here. Adrian. Here. Dana.
Here.
Here. Here. Jason.
Not here.
Nicholas.
Here.
Kate. Here. Matthew. Here. Daniela. Here. Matsuko. Here.
Moving on to approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from February 20th? I did.
I looked at the minutes.
Moved by, I just looking at by Richie, any objections? Seeing none, minutes are approved. Moving on to public comments. Are there any public comments? Any public comment? Aaron? Isaac?
The DSG elections is due until Friday, so if you haven't voted, do remember to vote. That's about it.
Any other public comments? Moving on to advisor. Dennis, do you have-
So at this time, and the, on Jews and yeah, I don't think I have anything at this time. Perhaps, just in case anyone here needs it, there is, the elections are currently going on and we've heard some different things, but, that may be going on along with that. But if you have any concerns or issues to bring up, you must complete the complaint form available on the DASG election website. Just for clarification, because this has been asked a few times, they must be, they will have the complainant's name on it. The county anonymous, the names will be public for the complainant and the candidates. they will need to attend either or both an administrative committee meeting and the election certification at the same.
Want to, or Dana, do you have any advice on that?
Sure, Dana, do you have anything? Do you want to go first?
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everybody that if we have any events that are, I know we have several events that are happening coming up quickly, to make sure that you email Maritza or myself your special events requests, or book the meeting space or event space accordingly, as well as just keep us apprised so that we can make sure of any of your spending, to make sure that it's done correctly so that you can get paid quickly. So anything that you need, just reach out to us for more information. Thank you.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, just quickly, and this goes back to Dennis or Malia, if you have any updates on the dissemination of the scholarships for our senators. But I'll just say two things. One is my apologies to the executive board for not being able to attend our meeting at 3. I'm here in Seattle caring for my parents, so I had something come up. I want to thank those that came to the Board of Trustees meeting this past Monday, and those that spoke during the public comments. Appreciate you having the courage to speak out and advocating for the new Student Services building. We do have another request that you all come out to support next Monday. If in fact the Board of Trustees will be discussing the medical building. We need to again show up and advocate for our flea market. So please note that on your calendars. We would love for as many of our senators, interns, any students who are concerned about the impact that this is going to have on our flea market, which ultimately has an impact on our DSAG. So I see Dennis's hand up, but that's all I had. I'll be back in the office again on Monday.
First, to follow up on what Manju was saying, not just, we haven't seen the agenda yet, so, we would like students to attend. If there's anything about the medical building or any more about Measure G as well. Because both of those things could be on the agenda. And then about the, Manju, I'm guessing you meant for the fall scholarships?
Correct. Was a question
Fall
about
scholarships should have all been distributed now. I think I looked up at least one student's record because they were asking about it, and it looks like it was deposited or put into their account, their student account on the 20th. Just for clarification, it's also on the financial aid website, but all financial aid awards get put in the student account first. If there are any fees or charges still in there, it'll get used to pay for those. And then whatever's left gets put into your bank mobile distribution.
So just to clarify, Dennis, does it get automatically rolled into their bank account, or do they have to do something to transfer those funds?
Well, that bank mobile disbursements is how they get it. That is, I think, their personal account, but I think
Okay.
they can transfer it from there to a different account as well.
Okay, so if there are any future questions about the disbursement of those checks, go ahead and direct those to Dennis or Malia. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other amendments? Moving on to Senate announcements. Yeah.
We're planning to be PhD bonding for this quarter, shortly sometime during week 11. And we're gonna be sending out a form, kind of like that TikTok trend where it's like who is most likely to, and have all the senators as an option. But we're looking for question ideas for the form. So if anyone has ideas, we can pass on paper, just add it to the paper. And then hopefully we'll also be getting snacks and more. Okay. But we'll send out more details for that.
If you have any questions that you want us to ask, let us put it on paper.
And I think that's gonna be scheduled for week 11, so Wednesday at 4 also. Okay, any others announcements? Moving on to student trustee.
Oh, yeah, so doubling on what Hunter just said, that was the most, people that I've seen at any meeting ever, so really happy for the turnout. There were a lot of people for both Dianza and Foothill, and there were lots of public comments. For Dianza, like, as some of you know, we wanted to know more about the priorities of the district, regarding energy and some of the projects we have there. So we commented on that. I also heard Foothill talking about their, swimming pool. We had one of the coaches show up, and then he was like, it's been day 619 since I've had a class, and then, lots of comments from them, so. Yeah, that was from Foothill, specifically with the board, there was no action item today, or like Monday, but essentially what we did, okay. Yeah, right now for funding regarding all of the electrification projects that we have district-wide, we don't have any funds for that. And, what we were talking about was potentially gathering them from a future fund that could come in like, 2035, 2040, but that's a while, so then, Patrick was talking about maybe gathering, funds from elsewhere, maybe from the state essentially. We also talked about the housing, with a couple of different, options that we have concerning that. They were considering parking lot B, parking lot, or that is the same parking lot A. I'll double check that. They were also considering two other places. One is to the west, close to a church, and then the other one is from what I understand, close to the, what used to be the Valpo Mall, so. Those are some locations that are being considered for housing, and, I spoke to the vice chancellor of the board, and she said that the medical center is being fully funded by the county, so that's something we can consider as we look towards Monday's meeting with the public. And speaking of public comment, I'm currently drafting that, so if anyone wants to help me with that, that would be great. And then me and Lydia will pass you on this and everything on what's.
Okay, moving on to external shared governance reports. Ariana.
Equity Action Council met today, and they discussed doing a campus-wide inventory on the equity work being done, especially related to the equity plan reimagined, and the community invitation rubric was also mentioned, which would be a rubric to the invitation sent out when doing any event on campus in collaboration with other organizations and institutions to make sure we prioritize student safety. And this basically came about after like we received like not so great responses from the board or from like the ideas to make the a sanctuary campus. So this would be a kind of like a step closer, and just to make sure we prioritize student safety when doing any type of event.
Adrian.
Okay, so Environmental Sustainability Action Council met on Monday. The main thing that we talked about was the recycling and composting program. So instead of having it roll out this academic year, they're planning to have it pilot in the fall. That's that they can install all of the appropriate bin signs over the summer, and there's not as many students on campus. The plan is not anymore to do the entire campus, but it's to do in the main eating areas. They're going to be putting like composting, so like in the kitchen and then in the main pod, and then they're saying on the top of the LLC because the law requires it to be in like main food areas. We're also trying to get more recycling into offices. And when it comes to composting, it's like the food component that makes our current single stream recycling system not work because it contaminates the recycling. So if we have separate composting bins, the recycling will be handled too. So even if we don't have them everywhere, if we have them for the food areas, for the main food, then a majority of our recycling will also be. Yeah, so the main thing that they want from us, like students, is to kind of like spread awareness about it and to maybe help with like the marketing and then setting up the signs, but they don't want people standing in front of like the bins telling people what to do because some people might not want to do it, people are telling them what to do. So they're thinking maybe signs might be better. So yeah, that's the main highlights.
So classified Senate met yesterday, and the main things relevant to us, I guess, that they talked about were the leadership transition, so basically like Lloyd Holmes stepping down, and so they had like some questions about that, what it would mean, what the reasons were, stuff like that, so that was like briefly discussed, and then I think questions were collected to be taken to find some answers. So, yeah, and then they did a recap of their professional development day, and then they also talked about the medical facility as well, and how they're also a little bit confused about what's exactly going on and the board priorities and stuff like that.
So curriculum met yesterday, and we just basically did 10 food reviews on some courses. That's it.
Are there any other shared governance requests?
RAP met on Tuesday, so last week we already finished doing the handling the personal requests. So we already forwarded our final recommendation to the college council. So yeah, that already happened last week. So this week we're starting on our program evaluation. So we're evaluating a bunch of programs, and we split off into different groups for the next 2-3 weeks. And then we're gonna come back together again and kind of discuss what was on the letter.
Any other shared governance?
PPAP met and we were talking about shootings in the US and how and what weapons our police officers can carry, and at the moment it is tasers. And apparently recently there has been an increase in the amount of weapons that are being found in the student body in their cars and in their pockets. Apparently, recently there was a machete found in someone's car and also a firearm. So please do not carry these items. Because there are very severe consequences, and then the conversation actually went towards if police officers are supposed to carry shotguns too at the same time, but now the worries are if they have them both in their pockets, what if like when they're supposed to take out a taser, a shotgun is fired, which has happened before.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other shared governance reports? I have one from Academic Senate. They met on Monday, and they mostly talked about, they had a meeting with Chancellor and Bert president, and they were talking about the measures proposals as well as the medical center building. I think Academic Senate classified Senate are compiling questions to send, and they also would like to organize a town hall to talk about the medical center with the chancellor. And they're also considering a meeting with DASG Senate, Academic Senate, and Classified Senate sometime in the future to talk about it. Are there any other shared governance reports? Moving on to internal DASG committee. Isaac.
Administration met last week on Wednesdays and just not today. And then basically we went through the elections, complaints, and then talked about a perspective about scholarships, a resolution about class scheduling, and that's about it. And we're gonna have a meeting after Senate, so if you want to stay behind, stay behind.
The programs committee met just now, and for ES updates, so the wildflower planting is going well. I think how many sections are there?
I think two, we have to finish outside of admin, and then I'm still trying to see if I can switch it, but it's one more.
Okay, so 1.5 more. Kind of, are left, so if you're interested in helping out with the last of it, feel free to, meet in the main pod Tuesday for 3 to 5. So go to the main quad at 3 on Tuesday, if you're interested. Anyway, so the marketing request for the eco fund was put in, so hopefully we can get that marketed and started. And then we have a couple interns working on a sustainable landscape policy for Pienza and also a DHG sustainability criteria for after hour events and yearly evaluation. We also talked about Earth Week, which is going to be next quarter in April. And just like some of the ideas that were presented for that. And the recycling project, as Adrian mentioned, is hopefully starting sooner rather than later. For flea market, so the flea market for March happened last Saturday and it was successful. And then Jenna brought up the medical center plans and how it may affect the flea market. And so when we have more information, definitely encourage anyone who's working on the flea market to come out to the meeting and, share your input that, hey, flea market is gonna get super impacted by this. Yeah, and then there's also, they're working with a gaming company to maybe have a flea market pop-up convention. So if you're into games and cosplay and something else, then an anime, then go to that whenever it happens next quarter. And then we talked about our de-stress event, which is gonna happen the week before finals. And then we talked about our carnival, which will happen next quarter. And it's hopefully gonna be a collaboration with AFSC and both ICCs from Foothill and Danzig. That's it.
SRA met today and discussed internal elections outreach and incentive projects related to that. And we started an international student finances project. And we appointed interns for research and data collection and to meet with ISP, which is International Student Program. Essentially what that project is about is we want the I-20 document, which international students receive for visa purposes, to actually reflect the financial situation of being a student at the end of college, living wise and also like quarterly. The I-20 and then also the website to have a cost calculator of some sort. And then we also discussed resources promotion, specifically for food pantry and health services. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Marketing, that's 10-12 if you guys haven't seen already. Anyways, you have the vice chair and the APSPS posted in progress and speech shared governance by terminated events.
That, so
Finance met on Monday, and we were talking about moving the DASG operational side of the budget and kind of evaluate it a little bit differently from the rest of the budget, right? So yeah, that's something that we honestly been talking about for a long time, but now we're kind of starting to put things into motion. And right now Dennis is kind of just checking on some things, like anything to change in finance codes or like any deadlines that we have to like keep in mind when making that change. So we'll bring more updates when it comes to that, like eventually look at scenarios. And then we also talked about improving outreach with finance things like special allocations or things like that. So, yeah.
Better display evaluation. For next.
Moving on
to approve all consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve it? Yeah.
Second.
Moved by Hannah, seconded by Ian. Any objections? Being none, we'll be moving on to the first business item, which is the end of Connect. So this item is to prevent the end of Connect, which is a platform students can use to ask questions, raise concerns, or learn more about resources.
Thank you, everyone. Lydia, I will need your help with now. Sorry, I'm just grabbing something and pass it on now. I'm just wondering, has anyone heard of Campus Connect on campus by any chance? Yes, you do that. All right, has anyone of those, have you guys utilized the system by any chance? Okay. And that is okay. That is okay, because that's what I'm here for. Take one and pass it around, please. These are little cards. So what is the end of Connect? I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So my name is Sushini Chand. I am a program coordinator, and I am coordinating this specific program service that is campus-wide, currently utilized by faculty and staff. It is being expanded to all students. And what is it? So I have a question for you guys. Right now, and when we started, did you know of all the campus resources that we have in campus? That's right. How many did? Raise your hand. And how many of you currently know of all of the resources that are available? A few. So imagine having more than 15,000 students and only a few actually knowing all of the resources that are available to them. So this is a huge gap that not only the answer faces, but also a lot of institutions in this country also face. So knowing that this gap is there, one of the things that I'm working on is to create a hub for students where all of the resources are there. So you just enter the hub and then you are able to select if you want to learn more about a specific program, service, or even ask for additional assistance. Academic counseling is huge, right? Does everyone always get like their counseling appointment on time? Yeah, yeah. I work in general counseling, so please tell me if you do or don't. And in addition to that, I think that most of you might want to also transfer, right? And making sure that you are talking to one of our transfer counselors on a timely manner and knowing like when to even start talking to a specific academic counselor that focuses on transferring. So as I mentioned, I'm building out a hub right now. It will be launched during the fall term. And as I mentioned, it's going to have all of the resources on campus, which means that if any student on this campus refers themselves to that specific resource or program, you know, any of them, whether they have any questions about like our AAPI, Impact AAPI program, or any other specialized programs, EOPS, Emoja, any of those learning communities that we currently have, or even any services, whether it is library services. You know, our library services has a lot of great resources that they are providing to students, not only when it comes to academic research, but also, you know, lending out laptops to students who are in need or need it for that specific term, or even for the academic year. In addition to that, if you need any calculators, and they go above and beyond, not only serving our first year, first time students, but also our adult students as well. So this hub will then be able to provide all of the students, as I mentioned, with a self-referral where you can refer yourself to that specific area. But I know it's launching during the fall term. And what we are doing right now in the interim is I have created, and that's what that little card is. May I borrow this? That's what this little card is. This is where I need Lydia's help a little bit. So in the interim, while we are creating this hub, you can still utilize it, but in a very different manner. Where if you are stressed about any of your classes and passing, whether you are checking in to see, are you on your way to transferring or meeting your educational goals? Or right now, you might be feeling a little overwhelmed and need help. Or even the question, you know, a lot of our students actually utilize lots and don't know who to ask the question, and that's perfectly okay, because we don't expect all of our students to know everything that we have. Go ahead and utilize our Kansas Connect platform, and it's accessible through my portal. Lydia, would you be able to access my portal so I could show you? If you access, it is an app, it's called Kansas Connect through my portal. And you could also access it through the QR code that is actually on this specific part. And then if you scroll down or search for Connect, yep, that's the, oh, be careful, it has your birthday and everything.
You can put the screen.
Oh, sure, yeah, stop sharing.
Oh.
We are changing that, by the way. You will be able to use your DMV, CWID, and your password, and working with our IT to change that, because, we don't want them to be utilizing their birthday. So go ahead, if you can access the platform through, my portal, click on the app, and then, perfect. And then you can go ahead and close out of that, that's just the welcome. And then this is where you could ask the question. So if you click on ask a question, these are the same questions that are on this. And the reason why we're doing it from evening to days is oftentimes we're noticing that students may not know what it is that they need. And once you actually submit a question, whatever that might be, or sometimes it doesn't even have the question that you need, so always choose that other. And then submit your inquiry. Go ahead and click whichever one you would like. And then if you add additional, you could always add additional comments there. And then if you submit it, one of our team members, we actually have a student success specialist who works with students, and this is her job, is to connect with students on a daily basis. And how we connect with students is once we receive this inquiry, within 24 hours, we will receive a phone call. We also need students to make sure that their phone numbers are up to date as well. So make sure that your phone numbers are up to date. We'll go ahead and call you. Make sure that, check in. How can we help you? What's that? And then we'll go ahead and refer you out depending on what it is that you need, or what kind of questions you have, whether that is being an academic accounting assessment. We'll go ahead and do that, or if you need tutoring help, or if there is something else, we'll go ahead and refer you to specific services right now. So we are taking on that. And the income before we actually launch the actual self-service platform that will be available during fall term. So I highly encourage all of you guys to use it, spread the word about Kansas Connect. As I mentioned, I do have a full-time employee whose job is to connect with students and to make sure that you are receiving all of the services and help support that you need in order to meet your career, educational, personal goals that you have in your academic. Right now, these are the questions that I have, but one of the things I did want to open up to discussion or even hear from you guys is there anything else that we should add that we might want to have? Right? And that comes from all of you. So do let me know, use the system. And if we don't connect with you via phone, we do send an email with our phone number on it. So if you call us, we will pick up. And we give you guys our office phone. Any questions? No? Y'all are good? Oh, okay, perfect. You've got it. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you so much. I hope you guys use the system. And let me know if it's working or if there's anything else that we need to do, because the system is for you. And I don't know what it is that you guys need until you guys actually help. So please do use it and let us know if there's any improvements that you see. All right. Thank you.
Moving on to the next business item, this is the faculty delegation of conference community voices advocacy and policy conference. So this will be for you. Public policy.
We all good? Okay. We'll have like half on with that. Hi, everyone. So for those who do not know, my name is Chris, and you probably know me because I'm part of DASG, but I'm also a public policy school intern, along with Hannah, Daniela, and Barinci, who is unfortunately not here. We are also joined by some DASG delegates who went on the AMP conference and some FA PAC over there. And we just wanted to do a quick recap on the AMP conference that we attended now 2 weeks ago, I believe. 2 weeks ago. And then also just a little appreciation, because without DHG, we wouldn't have been able to go to this conference. And then really quick, just if you do not know what public policy school is, it is an internship program under VITA, where student interns like myself, Hannah and Daniela, are trained to meet with assembly members and legislators during the AMP conference to discuss important budgetary and legislative items or issues regarding California Community College students. So we'll be giving some examples actually of some budgetary and legislative items that we were trained on and that we carried during these lobby visits. Sorry.
Okay, where did we stop?
And then this is really quick, just a slide on who we work with, because PPS, Public Policy School for short, does not work by ourselves, which is why we have DSG and FA PAC delegates up here. If you want to just talk about that.
Yeah, so my name is Isabel, and this is Audrey. We are from FA PAC, the Political Action Committee that works under the Faculty Association Union. So we partnered with PPS and we were able to do this together. We also worked with SSCCC, which is the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, the Faculty Association of Community Colleges, or FACCC. They are the ones that put on this conference and overall give information and train in terms of advocacy and policy. Just a little bit talking about our impact, we just specialize on lower socioeconomic status, first generation, students of color, and overall disproportionately represented students in the California community college system. We advocate for basic needs like housing, transportation, counseling, increased fundings for key categories such as EOPS, CalWORKS, California College Promise, things like that, financial aid. We use community colleges as a vehicle for greater equity, justice, and democracy. And this quarter's engagement, we for as far as just FAPAC and PBS, DMs of student volunteers, DASG, ASFC, which we also worked in conjunction with to go to the AMP and legislate and our VITA.
Okay, so on conference day, we got the opportunity to go to these workshops. So 3 of them being moving forward our funding priorities, amplifying voices, empowering student advocates for change, which was personally my favorite, along with the organizing to bring community back to community college. All of these were incredibly enlightening. And then we also got to hear speeches from FACCC champions that got awards. So Senator Cuevas and Assemblymember Reyes, who actually authored one of the bills that we were carrying. And Assemblymember David Alvarez, who got Legislator of the Year award for heavily supporting community colleges throughout his time.
And in his first term too,
Yeah,
which was really cool.
he did a lot for community college students, so very thankful for that.
So essentially, we did workshops on the first day that we were there for the conference. And then the second day was legislative visits, and what we will be talking about afterwards about like our leave behinds and everything, that's where our legislative visits come in. But before that, the day before, we went to these workshop conferences. These conference workshops.
Yeah, and this is our legislative visits part of it, which is the second, day.
So we met with I'm not gonna name them all because there's a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we were only able to meet with some of the aides and staff members. But we were able to meet with, I believe, who did we see in person? I didn't get it.
Alex Lee, we saw in person, Assemblymember Alex Lee. I know, John Laird, and I think Josh Becker popped in very briefly.
We were
So-
supposed to see Berman as well, but he had fallen ill that day, or he felt ill that day. And so I guess who wants to start with what we?
Yeah, so, obviously we learned a lot of things in terms of the conference itself. It does teach you how to advocate for yourself and for people. Me personally, I learned that when you're doing these lobbyings, when you're doing things, you wanna make sure that even within a budget deficit, we're talking about people's lives instead of quantifying that into dollar amounts. 'Cause when you start having actual personal stories, they no longer look at this as a number, as a budget deficit, but more so as how many lives are we affecting with this, with the budget, or what the decisions that they make in terms of policy and things like that.
And then. You did. And then another thing we learned was about storytelling makes a difference. So we, as, people who were trained on this, we can talk all day about statistics and facts, but it's really our storytelling that makes a difference. And that really speaks to these assembly members and legislators. And not to spoil too much, but when we do go to our leave behinds and we talk about certain action items that we are doing, like affordable housing, like promoting equity on campus, it's really important to hear from ourselves about our own experiences with these types of issues. Because that's what they attach onto, and then that's what hopefully will get these bills passed and our budget items, prioritized.
And then just to add on to that, we were actually told that the senators and the assembly members utilize our personal stories to sell that to other senators, to other assembly members, and to these different committees to be able to pass things. So that's why storytelling is super important.
I wrote down organization conferences are very important when making pitches to policymakers or any position in power, or any person in power. I just think like when you know what you're talking about and when you're confident in the knowledge that you have such a short amount of time, with these people, like these were like 20-30 minute meetings. So you really have to go in there knowing what you're talking about, and you have to sound confident so that they hear you out. And that's just one thing I learned, in this conference or in these lunch visits.
And so one of the things I learned kind of bounces off what Ariana said in terms of confidence, because you really do have to be confident about the topic that you're bringing to the legislator, because oftentimes you will not be heard or taken seriously. I was in a meeting where the aide was literally with Isabel. She was literally looking out the window the entire time we were talking to her. She showed no interest. She looked bored. She didn't even make eye contact or conversation with us. And yeah, it was a bit unmotivating, but we had to maintain that confidence during that meeting. Thankfully, she did take interest in one bill, which was the AI bill. But I definitely did expect them to pay a bit more attention, but it's not always gonna be like that.
Yeah, and again, bouncing off of what she just said, or what Daniela just said, you never really know what to expect. So prior to this conference, we did around 4 to 5 trainings, if I'm not wrong. Just training for the legislative visits, training for what we're gonna say, how we're gonna say it, our storytelling as well, like perfecting that piece of it. But it really, I sort of had a different experience where I had 3 meetings and all of them went really, really, really great. So, it's really about the person who, or the people who are gonna be there during that meeting. And yeah, again, how confident you are, but you never know what to expect. It sounds like it, and when we were doing the training, because it was my first time going, I was very intimidated and I was like nervous and everything. But after the first meeting, I was just like, wow, like they're humans, they're people, it's fun. It's like we know that already before, but when you're training for a 30-minute meeting every week, it kind of gets intimidating. But it really isn't that bad.
And I learned the importance of making connections, and that goes just above like sharing your personal stories. So it's like kind of humanizes the statistics.
But also, like, even if you guys like went to the same community college, you live in the same area, it's really important to make a personal connection with people to kind of build off of that.
And then this is our budgetary and legislative leave behind. So we just chose top 3 from both budget and pledge, because in total, there's probably like 15 to 20 items per document, and we already don't want to be up here for that long explaining all of those. If you're ever curious though, we did link our budgetary and legislative leave behind if you want to read about them. We're just gonna be talking about 3 of them. And I'll be starting with the first budget item, which is the 50% law, which ensures that every California community college should be spending at least 50% of their general fund budget on instruction. The main objective of this budget item is to make sure that class sizes are small and to make sure that there's also enough options when it comes to classes. So sometimes you'll see in-person classes, at times there's like 30 or 40 students in there. And that makes it very difficult on the instructor as well, who is trying to meet up with all these students and trying to really make a connection with all of them. So at the end of the day, they can't. And with the 50% law, it literally tells campuses to spend 50% of their budget. And most, if not all, California community colleges, even De Anza, is not doing that. So that's why sometimes you'll see some classes that are over like 30, 35 students. And then it makes it harder for instructors who want to do office hours but can't, who have multiple classes. It's a lot. So that's something we lobbied about and told them that they need to preserve this law, because right now it's actually being discussed that it should not be implemented anymore. And then who wants to?
So for a full-time equivalent student, this is essentially a big funding factor in like how community colleges get funded. And full-time student currently for community colleges is a person who takes 15 semester units. So that's like 22 quarter units, and I know everybody here knows that's like a crazy amount. I know some of you do take 22 units, but it's not easy at all, especially when you have like job or extracurriculars. So that's why we're trying to lobby for it to be lowered to, I think, 12 units. So that would be around like 18-ish. So that's another bill that we carry.
And then, as far as budgetary, the last big one we carried is COLA, which is our cost of living adjustment. So just to give you guys a reference, last year we got an 8% cost of living adjustment, and that just goes to the employees, the faculty, the staff, and as well as some of the programs and that we end up using here on campus. The reason that we are lobbying for this is because this year the recommended was 0.76%. So going from 8% down to 0.76 is literally wild. It will in fact be a pay cut for a lot of our staff, just because it doesn't keep up with the overall rate of inflation. It's currently at 3%, which is not where 0.76 is. In terms of COLA, it kind of goes back to how this involves students, is because if they're not able to have a livable wage when it comes to teaching and things like that. Oftentimes professors will take 2 jobs, they'll work 3 jobs. I know a professor that works at 4 different community colleges to be able to afford rent. At that point, she no longer can do very many office hours. She's not very supportive, and she's a fantastic professor, don't get me wrong, but it gets into issues of her either being able to live or her taking extra time with her students. And we don't think that our specific success should be dependent if someone else can pay their bills. So that's partially why we were advocating for about a 2 to 3% living adjustment in terms of cost of living, as well as making sure that programs like Umoja, Puente, Mesa, the California College Promise, which all do not get a COLA adjustment, do in fact, because those programs are essential for student needs.
So now we're gonna transition into the legislative bills that we carried. These are the top 3. And again, our leave behind is linked here. If any of you guys want to take a photo and read through it, it is a lot, but if you are interested, the link is there. And Audrey is gonna start with the EBT bill.
Yeah, so I talked about AB 2033, which just basically requires that every California UC, CSU, and community college campus has one grocery store or convenience store where students can utilize their EBT card and purchase foods or other like groceries that might be on campus. And this would just make
basic, like human necessity, a lot more accessible to students.
Oh, and then we also carried the housing survey, which is AB 2707, which is essentially just a survey that we want to be sent out to California Community College students, over 25 years old, sorry, I didn't carry this one, but,
I get it.
yeah.
Okay, but the housing survey is basically a survey that's gonna be sent to all California Community College students over the age of 25 to understand their living and housing needs. Because if you don't know, the average age for California Community College students is actually 24. It's not 18, it's not 19, it's 24 years old. And it's very important that we understand this older demographic on their housing needs and housing insecurities, because a lot of them are single parents. A lot of them are working multiple jobs, and if they can't even afford where they're living, then we need to know that, so that we can give that specific demographic more resources.
So the next bill, or the last bill I'm gonna be talking about, is one that I carried a lot and I'm very passionate about. It's gonna be the student parking, which is AB 1818. Now, essentially, this would allow California Community College campuses to let students that use their cars as housing to sleep in parking lots and sleep in their car without receiving any citation. And it's like, come on, if we can't have affordable housing, at least let them sleep in their cars. Like, that's the bare minimum that they can give us. And this is actually a bill that's returned. It's the second time, I believe, that it's come back. So hopefully this time around it passes, because this would benefit so many students that live out of their cars.
And then, yeah, just thank you, DASG, for letting us go to this conference. We learned so much. There's photos of us attending the conference. But that is it. And if you have any questions, just let any one of us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, moving on to the third business item, which is the resolution for block scheduling and unavailable. So we will be discussing draft resolution for block scheduling.
Hi, everyone. So, last week we talked about, task scheduling, labs. Yeah. So last week we talked about task scheduling, especially among labs. So this week, this is information type items on the resolution advocating for block scheduling in terms of the lab offerings. So I guess first of all, you can take like, I guess you all can take like a few minutes to look at this first. Okay, I'll just go over it. So first, we're at talked about the demand of those courses that was talked to the resolution. The second, whereas talked about the student opinion based on surveys that we have. And the third, whereas statement is more about the analyzation in the administration training, as well as the fourth paragraph, whereas. And then the fifth whereas was talking about how the implementation of block scheduling could help these conflicts between those classes. And the result is here, which is basically advocating for an implementation of block scheduling within those courses, including but not limited to these series here. And these are the supporting documents that we have. So if you want to look through it first, and if you have any questions.
So can you define what you mean by block scheduling?
So block scheduling is just basically standardizing the start times and the end times of those labs. So given the fact that they all have the same amount of time, I think it's 2 hours and 50 minutes. By standardizing the start times, you're able to, it's like block A, block B, block C. in which those labs exist in those buildings.
So it would be like biology will always be in one, always. Or it might be misunderstanding,
So for psychology, they could have like,
or any class,
any class could have, and like any class could start at morning, afternoon, and evening. But the start time of the morning schedule would be like, for say, 10:30. And that would be the same with chemistry and physics and so forth.
I
Yeah,
think one of the things you're trying to avoid also is overlap, correct?
yeah.
Yeah, so essentially, because a lot of students have this issue, and we do have the, DHG Senate members have to, and student employees have to, resign or whatever because of the issues with the class scheduling, but especially some of the science classes, not necessarily the classes themselves, but the labs, they're like offered like maybe once in a whole year or something like that. And often, even if they're not, they're overlapping, so you're not necessarily gonna take, I think this was mentioning it, like mini meeting, I know. I mean, you won't necessarily be able to take multiple bio and multiple chemistry at the same time. But you might want to take a bio class and lab and a chemistry class and lab, where everything is currently set up. It's just not possible. You end up having to stay here for 4 years. I remember a couple of years ago, one of our student employees was pretty much done with all her classes, except she had one more to take, and it was only offered once a year. And she had to stay here one whole extra year until it was offered again, so she could finish.
So that's the reason behind the call for channelization. A lot of times that, like, obviously you want to advocate for more classes, more sections, but there are resource limitations, there are space limitations that we're just not sure about. How would that be, or how would that occur? So by implementing maybe block scheduling, standardization within those clusters, we can at least increase the possibilities students are able to take. And then as a result of that, maybe since there are more people available in taking those classes, you're gonna have more people and more demand goes up, and that's a good cycle. Any questions? Okay, there's no questions. I think that's it. We're gonna put it on Senate for next week for approval. Okay, thanks.
Moving on to the 2024-25 DSG budget stipulation, be reviewing and discussing.
All right, so here's the 2024-2025 DHG budget stipulations. I'll go over just some of the changes that we did, and then Dennis, you can also add on to whatever I missed as well. So for number 11, so this is talking about contracted speakers. And so budget stipulations just kind of like the things that we can like fund, or like, yeah, essentially, right? It's kind of like the guidelines for funding. So in this case, it's for the funding for contracted speakers or performers. So originally it should not exceed $5,000. Then we increased that limit to $20,000 per speaker or performer per event or performance. And then we also deleted the restriction for the this part right here. Essentially, there was talk about, like, do we need a limit at all, right? Should we have a limit? Should we not have a limit? And then in the end, we decided, okay, maybe we should have a limit, but we just increased the limit to something that's quite large, at least, so it like gives us a bit more flexibility. So right now the limit is $20,000 per speaker or performer / performing group, at least as stated in for what we're trying to add in the stipulations, right? Then there's for number 12. Basically kind of the same deal as number 11, except this is for promotional clothing. And so there was a cap for no more than $50 per item or promotional clothing per person. And then we changed that to 100 instead. So again, they would talk about, should we have a limit at all? And then in the end, we just decided, okay, we'll have a limit, and it's $100. So Okay, and then we spoke, out under 17.
I think 17. Moved down to 24.
Moved down to 24. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay, and then we, I think 20, and 21 were, these are just district things that we decided to add in here just so people know about.
And some of these also were, I think at least 21. I don't know, it must have been 23. Well, I think 21 as well, but yeah, 21 and 23 especially, were also things that were kind of covered in the finance code, but really should have been in the stipulations anyway, and they needed to be updated as well, so they were removed when the finance code was updated, early in the quarter, I think it was, or was it last quarter? And then, now we're putting them back in stipulations and also updating what we needed.
Wait, that's for, 22.
That's, I think, 2021 and 23.
And then,
I mean, we had some stuff in the finance code about food and about travel,
right, yeah.
but it needed updating and really should have been here anyway.
Oh, yeah, right. That, I think that's something we talked about last quarter. So, yeah, that's, 20, 21, and 23. I remember this one, yeah. Then 17 will just move down to 24, just to get into more relevant within the context of, if we're talking about the conference and have one more here anyways, we can do that. And then I think that's about it.
And then, 22 was adjusted a little bit, just the language, just to make it
Yeah.
more clear.
Or I guess there's this change, the licensing funds, that number 29, so no travel funds, it's moved from travel funds for up until ITC has created the guideline of policies, and then it was just changed to college, Office of College Life.
Okay. And this was based on some direction we got from the district.
So there's that change, and I believe that is it. So are there any questions regarding the budget stipulations?
And not just the changes, but any of the stipulations.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be what we highlighted just what we changed, but if there are any other questions, feel free to ask.
I did remember one thing I forgot to change on this document, so we'll have to do it next week, but, where was it? It was on. Yeah, so on number 11, there's that section about any appeals to stipulations. That technically applies to all stipulations, so that really, we need to delete that under number 11 and anywhere else, and it should just be in the top section. Oh, yeah, right, yeah, it should just be at the top of the page, that if you have any questions or would like to discuss waiving or updating any of these, go to the finance committee.
Right, yeah. So what Dennis is talking about is this line specifically. It shouldn't just apply for the case of contracted because of performers. Really, it should apply to anything in the stipulations, right?
Yeah, and it has before. I mean, we've come, I think even this year. I'm not sure, but I think, yeah, we have come to the Senate before to waive different stipulations or finance committee. As needed, but yeah, that applies to all.
Dennis, okay, so if there are no questions. Any questions? Okay, yeah, there's a question, but I guess that's done. Cool.
Okay, moving on to the last item. This is the DASG Legislative Affairs Liaison. Internal officer elections, so we'll be electing the Legislative Affairs Liaison for the current position. Eddie, are you? Oh, yeah. So the format for this will be an up to 2-minute statement. And then 7 minutes of questioning, and then 2-minute statement, 7 minutes of questioning, 1 minute closing statement, and then 10 minutes of delivery. So you can let me know whenever you're ready for your opening.
Hi, my name is Eddie, and I'm part of the administration committee. I started interning at the end of fall quarter. This is my second time running for the position. The first time I mentioned that I drafted a resolution during my, possibly intern, where I helped divert the funding responsibilities for the student success center over to DASG rather than DHC. Since then, I've met a lot of you, as a volunteer at a lot of events. I volunteered at 2 election info sessions. I manned the station with a couple of other senators and interns during the flea market, the mini flea market. And I greeted people during the winter resource fair. Currently, I'm working on a resolution to provide additional funding for a scholarship with low barrier to entry, accessible for any DASG student. My contribution consisted of compiling data, contacting the director of IP program at the district, and I was drafting a rough resolution that was reviewed by the committee earlier today. I also analyzed data for the other 115 community colleges, see what they have to improve on, and I contributed slightly to the class scheduling resolution by scheduling meeting with the chemical head department, chemistry head department with 2 other interns. And really happy to be here, and I hope you consider me for the position.
So next we'll be doing 7 minutes of Q&A. Is there anyone who has a question first? Adrian.
So why do you want senator position? Why do you want this position?
Well, I have a long history. Well, first of all, if you guys aren't too aware of what the position entails, I'm supposed to research and compile a resolution to a problem that the administration committee considers a problem, and the answer in the district, whatever. And a lot of that, like I mentioned, requires a lot of research. So going through papers, going through articles, contacting people, being very proactive in that regard. I have a long history of doing research. I think in my first year of, actually at the end of my high school, I worked at a local company as a researcher, where I compiled data on local companies, local competitors, and outreach towards us. I also ran as a hobby a business that I ended, I think, at the end of 2023, where I just had to again contact a lot of competitors, do a lot of research on how to do taxes, to run a business, anything like that. Just recently, I'm volunteering at Red Cross as a disaster preparedness lead, which again requires a lot of research. I have to contact the find news articles, social media posts about local fires, and whether the Red Cross had a contributing factor to the safe escape of the families that were affected. So as far as I can remember, I've done a lot of research, and during that time, I just enjoyed every minute of it. And like I mentioned, I did 2 resolutions in my short time as an intern. And again, I really enjoyed it, and I was wanting to continue doing that as a legislative affairs.
Are there any problems on campus that you're very passionate about that you would like to write a resolution about?
Sure. Oh, let me just reiterate the resolution that I'm doing. I kind of got to that resolution because in the administration committee, they mentioned that the international student tuition rate, actually out-of-state tuition rate, rises, which put a heavy strain on a lot of people here, not including great immigrants. I did a little bit of research and I found out that 3/4 of the student body at the end are not eligible for federal or state, which could be for a lot of reasons, but mostly it's because people are not taking enough units, not taking the minimum units for credit. During my research, I realized that scholarship is not the end of it. There's a lot of different avenues that we can focus on. Another resolution that I kind of want to implement is doing another program like the California Promise Program, which provides a way to offer tuition. I'm aware that we have very little funding, but that's something I want to explore. I got this inspiration from researching other colleges that are doing similar programs. For example, Chabot Valley College, the Apple Valley College, I think Evergreen are waiving off tuition for every student, regardless of their immigrant status or their other disability and academic standing or whichever. Thank you.
If you are elected, to the DHG Senate, are you planning to continue with the DHG next year or not?
That's a good question. Well, hopefully, like everyone here, I'll transport within 2 years. But it's different, but I'm not gonna know what's gonna happen in quarter. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. So I might stay here for another year. I actually think I have a pretty high chance of staying for another year because when you see the application, it's not personal, so I'm happy to share it. I forgot to put down the volunteer at the Red Cross. And I forgot to put down that I was an intern here. I also forgot, never mind. My application wasn't the best.
I think you move on to another. Anyone? Matthew.
So do you have, plans to like work, outside of the with other community colleges, in terms of the resolutions you want to pass? Or looking at issues that, affect community colleges across the state?
That's a good question. Yeah, I can imagine that I'll be working with other community colleges. I think the fact that as a district, we're consisted of the and Foothill, I'm probably gonna work with the Foothill, in government a lot. Right now, I don't see any reason why I would contact other community colleges and maybe ask them a question about, how they do it over there. But I know there's a, General Assembly meeting from April 5th, 7th. So I'm looking forward to, if I'm elected, I'll be looking forward to meeting other government members.
There's no questions. Do we need a motion to end the time?
If there's no more questions, seeing no further discussion. Unless there are objections on in discussion.
Any objections to any discussion? Okay, so you have 1 minute to do this. Are you ready?
Yeah. I think by now you guys have a pretty good idea of who I am and what I can contribute to DHC. But I cannot stress enough how willing I am to go above and beyond for this position. I think a lot of what I'm doing as an intern is what is going to be reflective to if I get the position. I don't think that many things would change. And I have the qualification and the experience to do a good job in the position. I think, during my time as an administration committee intern, I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun. And I don't want to end it off as just an intern. I want to make a bigger impact. I want to meet new people and yeah, I just want to have a bigger presence. So thank you guys.
We'll have 10 minutes of Senate deliberation and you can step up for roll call. What's the start?
She's a good intern. I think she should be legislative liaison based on the work that I've observed, as well as his dedication in administration.
I agree with Isaac. Eddie has put like probably the most work out of all the interns and all the, the potential resolution that he has been working on is also really impactful to us as a community.
Yeah, and I'll also back up on that because Eddie was actually, I think like to 2 or 1 board meeting ago, he actually attended and he was also taking information about like everything that was being said. So I really like that. And I think he would be a good one.
Any other comments? You got?
I've never worked with him, but he's funny, I like him.
You think, Anna?
Do we just call him in and?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, okay,
No, I wanted to add the next step.
okay, any other things? If no objections, add it to, oh, Joel.
I mean, I think in our first round, why we said, you know, as if they have TK to the question with directed more towards programs. I feel like now that you have to understand the whole team. I think it's like fair to say that we like his character. There's no reason not.
Any? No objections, any discussion? So it's blind voting, scan the QR code, you can't scan it. Raise your hand after you voted.
Anyone who hasn't voted, raise them.
No. Keep them. Anna, did you? Everyone is done, or? Okay, we can get them back in there. Or.
She'll have to give it a- oh,
I mean, he doesn't have to be outside for anything. Technically, it's underneath.
Hey, I think you go.
Actually, I forgot to put the name on the form, so we're gonna do a roll call vote. Okay, I think you can start. Okay, Lydia. Okay,
Oh, what's the?
Eddie, yes or no?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Joel.
Yeah.
Javier.
Yes.
Mariana. Yes. Ian. Ted.
Yes.
Benjamin.
Yes.
Renchi.
Not here.
Oh, just kidding. Bianca.
Yes.
Christopher Blake.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Ria. Yes. Adrian. Yes. Donna. Yes. Jason. Oh, and Ryan. Nicholas.
Yes.
Kate. Yes. Matthew. Yes. Daniela.
Not here.
Okay. Matsuko.
Answer.
What do you get? You're on the. You're on the.
Congratulations, Eddie. Okay, moving on to public comment. Are there any public comments? One thing for all senators, we're going to do a shared governance updates post on Instagram. So if your shared governance has been doing anything you think is particularly interesting this quarter, if you can message me a short update of what they've been doing, that would be great. Moving on to advisor announcements. And if there's any. Manju or Dana, do you have any advisor announcements?
Just that next Wednesday is our last Senate meeting of the quarter. So our quarter has come to an end already. So yeah, and I will see folks in the office next week.
Thank you. Moving on to introduction and approval of prospective senators. If you are running for a position, bike program coordinator, vice chair of administration, events coordinator, or social media officer, or if you are running currently in general elections, you'll need to attend at least one meeting if you're running an election. So for everyone who's doing that, you have to come up and type your name and then
Yeah, I was right there.
What is the?
Are you running? Yeah. Okay, stop. If you could all go back to your seats, we're not done with the meeting now, and everyone will be sort of announcing what they're doing.
Hi guys, my name is Arham Azari and this is my second Senate meeting and I am running for the Vice Chair of Admin Committee. And currently I'm also running for the executive role as the Chair of Student. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Mark and I'm running for a chair at Harry.
For general elections.
I'm Javelin, I'm running for social media officer, and I'm also currently running for chair of party.
My name is Veronica Han and I'm running for chair of marketing and also social media.
Yeah, so that's what like, go.
Victor Fan, I'm running for social media officer and chair.
Hi, I'm Fatima and I'm running for social media officer. Hi, I'm Krishna Sumesh and I'm running for social media.
Hi, I'm Joe and I'm running for president.
Hi, I'm Luca, running for president.
I'm right here, I'm running for chair. Hello, my name is Javi, I'm running for chair of finance.
So I, relation to running for vice program coordinator. Hello, I'm Chen Ho, I'm running for event coordinator. Hi, I'm Zane, I'm running for chair of finance.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karthik. I'm running for event coordinator.
Hi, this is my second meeting, and I'm running for vice chair of
Hello, my name is Yan Ming and I'm running for chair of finance.
Everyone, please stop talking. Okay, is there anyone else who is running currently in general elections or is running for midterm senator? There's no one else, but, so for next week, the internal elections for bike program coordinator, social media officer, and events coordinator will be happening. And everyone who has been to at least 2 Senate meetings and is an intern in the committee is eligible to run. So the chair of your committee will be contacting you if you're eligible. Okay, I adjourn this meeting at 5:32 p.m.
How long is your meeting? How long?
Next speaker. I know,
Oh, yeah, I want to see it all.
not